For the oil producing community is too low.
But the support that is needed. And once you get the support, your energy will blossom.
This is Nigeria. You need to give people sense of belonging.
It is another beautiful Friday morning in the city of Abuja, and I'd like to welcome you to Inside Nigeria, coming to you live from Leadership Podcast Studio. My name is Tion Joseph, and as usual, I'll be reading to you major stories from 5 different Nigerian newspapers. And by the rule of thumb, I'd like to start with the most influential newspaper, which is the Leadership newspaper. And on Leadership this morning, the major story says, "We will help PDP to lose in 2023 if Ayu does not quit." That is coming from Wiki, and you can read this story in detail on page number 4. Down there, the bullet says, "Ayu must go before campaign starts, but the judge, he is sitting tight because of 14 billion naira in PDP coffers." Wiki. PDP holds next meeting next week, says party supreme above individuals. That is all I'll be taking for Leadership this morning. If you want to read details of this story, you can hop onto www.leadership.ng and read more. Furthermore, you can grab a copy at any near station around you, newspaper stand around you, for just 200 naira a copy. So look, let's move straight to the next Nigerian Daily. And on my list, the next paper we have will be The Guardian. And on The Guardian this morning, the major story says, "Stop borrowing. Experts warn FG as debt profile hits 41.6 trillion naira." I take that again. "Stop borrowing. Experts warn FG as debt profile hits 41.6 trillion naira." I'm sure Winifred and her guests will do more justice to this topic later on. So I will just read some of the bullets down there as I continue. First bullet down there says, "Government owing 85% of Nigerians' debt," says DMO. The next bullet says, "Customs boss force NNPC subsidy payment claims." We'll take this last bullet before we move to the next Nigerian Daily. It says 36 million liters daily petrol consumptions unaccounted for. Okay, that is all we'll be taking for The Guardian this morning. Let's move briskly to the next Nigerian Daily. The next Nigerian Daily we'll be taking this morning will be THISDAY. And on this day, the major story says, "NEF not won't vote on ethnic religious sentiments." I take that again. NEF not won't vote on ethnic religious sentiments. Let's look at the 2 bullets down there. The first one says region carries scars of one it voted twice. The last bullet for this day says, "Warns against exploitation of its diversity." That is all we'll be taking for this day this morning. Let's move briskly to the next Nigerian Daily. And on my list, the next paper we'll be looking at is the Nigerian Tribune. And on Tribune this morning, the major story says, "Nigerians' debts hits 41.6 trillion naira, says DMO. You can find details of this story on page 6. The first bullet down there says, "World Bank survey raised Nigeria 195 out of 197 countries in debt to GDP growth." That is sad news for all of us. Let's move to the next Nigerian Daily, and I will be taking The Nation just to conclude today's papers. And on The Nation, the major story says, "Wike bombs Ayu PDP as party's crisis deepens." And there's a bullet there that we'll take before we conclude. It says, "National chair, a prodigal father, says Rivers hems men." Okay, that is all we have for you today on newspaper headline stories. But don't go just yet, because right after here, Winifred is coming with her guest to do justice to all the stories and even much more. And you wouldn't want to miss her and her guest. Once again, my name is Tion Joseph. Do have a great weekend ahead.
Why will a medical doctor work for 9 months, 60 months, 90 months
can't get it.
But you see how much kidnappers are taking from victims.
My thing is, problems with the, I think all the stabilized players, they need to get that, and I think we get that. The 3% for the oil producing community is too low.
So the support that is needed, and once you get the support, your energy will blossom.
This is Nigeria. You need to give people sense of belonging.
Inside Nigeria, keeping you informed on what matters. Inside Nigeria, keeping you informed on what matters. Inside Nigeria, keeping you informed on what matters.
Good morning and welcome to Inside Nigeria. This is the last edition for the week and it's September 2nd, new month. My name is Winifred Ukwebo and it sure feels good to be back on set. I missed you all this while. And with me as usual, my Friday tonic, I call him, is a public affairs analyst, Majid Dahiru.
Thank you, Winifred.
Did you miss me as much as
Very
I did?
much. You took off without notice.
and IU does not want to go down without the
That
fight.
is because IU was perceived to have played a role that was partisan as chairman,
Yes.
considering his utterances after the primary.
Yes. And even during the primary, when he went to go and hug Tambua, he was
Yes,
said to have embraced Egba. So you are the hero of
of the primaries. So these are issues that have clearly infuriated Wiki and CAP, and they're not thinking that maybe the party leadership under IU took sides with their opponents in the primaries. And if you agree with me, for example, that IU, being from the north and I'm a long-term associate of Atiku Abubakar, there is a lot of ground for suspicion of internal complicity. And that is why IU, more than any other person, should be the one actually appealing for Khan. As a matter of fact, IU should have actually apologized to Wiki for the utterances he made during and after the primaries.
yes.
Wiki deserved an apology from IU. I say this because you know the role Wiki played to bring
Yes.
IU on board as chairman,
Honestly.
when he went against his own brother from the same state,
Secondus.
Secondus. And if you also recall the role that Secondus played in the 2019 primaries, the role of an astute party administrator, a chairman, he was neutral, he was forthright. And that was why none of the aspirants then could actually point a finger at Mr. Secondus. In fact, for what I've now realized is that I think in the history of the PDP, which is Secondus will go down in history as one of their best and most effective chairmen, national chairman. It's unfortunate that Wike insisted he must go for certain reasons.
Oh yes, at the time before Wiki also moved, Uche Secondus was also somehow romancing Obaseki because he went to Edo State during that period.
Obaseki is a party, is a
Wike
chairman.
took umbrage at the statement that he could not really talk to.
No, you see,
what he was
Wike
supposed to
himself sometimes goes overboard and becomes too
Yes.
emotional in political matters. No matter disagreement with the governor of Edo, he's still a governor under the PDP. The party chairman owes him the same respect that he owes you as well as all other chairmen of PDP, being the main pillars of the party. So the kind of politics we practice. So Secondus was simply being a good chairman, a chairman for all. Secondus couldn't have taken side with you. In the same way you are angry now, that IU has taken side with. So you see, sometimes we shouldn't reprobate and appropriate at the same time. We should desire for others what we desire for ourselves. In the same way now that you are justifiably
Yes.
angry with IU, it's the same way that you shouldn't have been angry with Secondus for being a fair, firm, and pragmatic chairman that was for everybody and for nobody in particular. That is the role of a chairman, bringing stability. Yeah, but Wike wanted Secondus to have been IU. And now wants IU to be Secondus. That is the problem. But as analysts, we must look at each case on its merit. Secondus did the right thing as chairman. The truth is, Wike was wrong to have gone against Secondus. And okay, look at the consequences today. You wanted somebody else that has practically destroyed you in the same party that you have to build since 2015. Now, going forward, IU should be reined in. Sometimes you wonder what IU's interest really is. Is it that it doesn't want reconciliation? Or is it that Wike has become so insignificant and so irrelevant that IU thinks that the PDP can do without Wike? Particularly the time that even his own traditional base is challenged by other candidates of the different other parties. So something has to be done about IU. And except that is not serious about reconciliation. IU right now is a candidate for dispute resolution. That is, he may have to be sacrificed at this point. Before IU's recent comment about Wike and his colleagues being children, I wasn't of the opinion that IU should go. I felt it can still be managed. But that IU has put himself directly on the firing line and has decided to take up the battle directly with Wike. I think the call by the weekend for IU to leave now becomes justifiable because he has shown that he's an interested party in this matter. If IU had kept his mouth shut, if IU had reached out to Wike, if IU had apologized to Wike to say, look, I didn't say that which I said because I'm going to fight you. It was just simply as a It's out of the spur of the moment. Maybe some people would have said to Ricky and Co, let this matter lie low and just forget ahead. But again, it was gross indiscretion on the part of IU to have described Tambuwal as the hero of the primary election that Wike lost because Tambuwal stepped down for a fellow northerner, a fellow Hausa Fulani speaking Muslim, at the time that the South was agitating for power shift. That statement should have come from IU, especially when IU himself is a northerner. So it will look like a northern conspiracy completely to shut down the southern candidate that was leading, who happens to be Wike. So I should have known the implication of this, especially when the party is being supported, funded, and supported and funded from the south, where Wike comes from. So it is important that IU himself should have been a bit circumspect in all of this.
There's a saying that when you see, is it masquerade dancing, you know that there's a
Somebody
drummer.
drumming.
So with IU coming out frontally to challenge Wike, could it be that there are forces in party?
No. You can't rule it out. I actually think at this point that there are people on Atiku side that do not want this reconciliation to happen. They believe they have seen all, they've seen Wike, all of that, all that there is to Wike. And indeed, Wike too have been talking too much. I know when you talk too much, you become vulnerable. People begin to look at and analyze the strengths and the capacity you bring to bear. So Wike has overtalked without shooting his shots. And so the truth is, a lot of people do not want Wike in the mix. They think they can do without him. And there are lots of people in the South, particularly among the governors and even ex-governors, that are supporting Atiku firmly and ready to fill the void that Wike might leave. So Wike himself should take a decision on what to do and do it. If you're running the party, remain the party and do your bit. Maybe because this time around you are hot, you will not do your maximum bit to support the candidate. It's a different matter. But just do what you have to do and do less of talking. So when the man grows older, there's a saying that says he talks less and says more. Wike is talking too much and saying less. So it is that he needs to talk less and say more. That is,
and now too, with
he needs to be circumspect in what he says.
When Wike was in London, we saw, he has become a maker of some sort.
Yes.
Political parties going on a visit to see him, and among them was the APC chieftain, the presidential candidate, and whatnot. And a situation whereby the fellow presidential aspirant, talking of Amechi, is there, and the APC candidate is not talking with him. And recently it was said that the meeting they were supposed to hold, none of them showed up.
You see, the truth is,
what is happening?
I wrote a piece about Rotimi Amechi shortly after he became minister under President Muhammadu Buhari's government. And what is happening today to him, actually, I predicted it there. That article, maybe I'll share with you later. It sounds so prophetic when you read it. I thought about the fact that after Buhari won that election, thanks to the support that Amechi gave.
It's right, 2014.
2014. In fact, in that article, I described Amechi as the knife that tore the PDP umbrella.
Yes.
But that, what he needs to do now is to reconcile with his home base quickly. No fighting, no quarreling with anybody. Reconcile. Become like an organic leader of that region. Do not draw lines of partisanship or ethnicity, particularly partisan lines. Do not do anything that will now make, protected in that same article, your chief robber, which is Wike, should that become the beautiful bride by 2023. I stated it clearly there.
Really?
Yes. I said, look, because if he tries to carry out some level of, should I say, vindictive activities on those who didn't support him while he was supporting, he will continue to lose ground in the South.
Because we see APC chieftains paying courtesy visit to Wike, whereas Amechi is.
That is because in the last 7 years, Amechi refused to reconcile with his own people. Look, one of the years, Goodluck Jonathan was contesting, and you supported somebody from the other side, which I commend as a nationalistic kind of politicking.
Yes.
But after the election has been won and lost, it's your duty to go back and reconcile with your people and carry them along into the new era. But what he did was he clearly demarcated the line of partisanship and continued the war with Wike. So we can now emerge as the champion of the people. Now, when Amechi was supposed to get the president to say, look, I supported you against one of our own. We need social and so basic amenities in our area for me to show. He didn't bring anything back home to show. And so we cannot emerge as the champion of the South people or Rivers people that are not trying to fight the federal government that has marginalized them. So we can remain relevant in 7 years and we should continue to go into oblivion. So that today, when the votes are now needed, the votes, Wiki has more capacity to deliver the votes in a river state than the Wiki. Wiki can deliver, than Amechi. Amechi can deliver more votes, maybe in Daura, where he built, if Transportation University, where he connected railway from Daura to, I think, to Maradi, where he has a title as Amana of Daura Emirates, than Amana. So he can actually deliver more votes in those areas. And of course, you already have governors there, they have everybody there delivering vote for them. So, but in Rivers, anybody who wants anything from Rivers today, wants to talk to Wiki, who has come across as one who defended our right, our political right, who gave us relevance in all these years of wilderness. And this would have been avoided if Amechi has shit his word, the conservatives, including Wiki, carry what and said, look, we are one people, I'm in APC, you're in PDP, let's all work our people together. Amechi would have been relevant today. Beyond just being an aspirant for the presidency, no, even as an individual, people would have been going to him to say, okay, can you help? But today, everybody knows he doesn't have that capacity. He's not popular at home. He's not reconciled with his people. He didn't bring anything home. And those he took things to left him in the cold. And so he's suffering double jeopardy at the moment. So this is quite understandable. Now, the lesson here is, please, at all times, be on the side of the people. So that is a lesson for Amechi to learn, maybe in his next diplomat, in the next political dispensation. However, there's also an issue of we're not taking all in Nigerian politics. I've said this severally. If you know you're going to contest for presidency or governorship in the primary election, be sure to win. If you don't win, that's the end of political career. That has been the case since 1999. Be sure to win. But if you're not going to win, don't contest. If you think you're contesting to get relevance, you won't get it. Because at the time, Amechi was contesting for president, and Tinubu was contesting too, within the APC. There are people in Rivers that supported Tinubu, either openly or quietly. Those are the people that Tinubu will be deferring to now in Rivers, not Amechi who contested with him. That has been the pattern since 1999. So when I have friends who want to contest election, I'll tell them, are you sure you're going to win? If you're not sure, please don't contest. Because if you contest, you go into oblivion, except something brings you back. Otherwise, please respect yourself. So I didn't expect anything less. Each of those that contested with Tinubu for election will not be relevant in the scheme of things going forward. And if Tinubu wins, they will not have a part of his government. Because there are people in Kogi, where Abelo comes from, for example. There are people in Yobe, where Senate President comes from, and other contestants that supported him at the stage, preparatory election stages, so that they will be the beneficiary of whatever comes out of the Tinubu presidency. It's always like that. And so that is why we must put all of this in perspective. So on both sides, Amechi being a contestant, a fellow contestant, a contender with Tinubu, will naturally not be favored by the candidate. Secondly, he has no votes to deliver. Wiki has managed to position himself as telling other people. He's not necessarily talking against the federal government on issues that they feel they are using to marginalize his people. He has come out as the local champion of some sort. And if one vote, all politics are said to be local, it is the local champion that you're going to go to. So Wiki is the local champion in Rivers, the Governor General of Rivers State. So you have to go to him. So that's why everybody's going to Wiki to see how he can use his influence in the state to sway votes for them. I'm not about you.
Thank you so much. Wow. Now, the campaigns, like INEC has announced that campaign starts September 28th. So what is going to be the permutation, given the fact that the party has not been able to put its ass together?
Yes, because as we speak, we don't know who's going to be the DG of the PDP campaign organization. We don't know how it's going to be structured in a way that will accommodate Wiki and these people. And from what the phrase I'm getting, this war between Wiki and the Atiku is about to escalate further.
Yes,
From
because
today.
yes, you're right. Because before we came into the studio, I read that somebody has also got to court to challenge Secondo's removal.
That's one.
That's one.
No, yeah,
Then
like
the
going to
primaries
see,
on to the court is going
Thank
to
you.
also going to rule.
I'm going to see fireworks from Wiki's side, from all other members of the Wiki team. You are going to see hot exchanges, so it might degenerate into a free for all. Again, the candidate of the PDP allowed this thing to linger too much. Right on this studio, we said it that the issue of zoning is going to be a very contentious one if the PDP does not zone to the south. And when Atiku decided to go into the race this time around, even when it is believed to be the turn of the south, he should have prepared resolution mechanisms ahead, knowing that if a Southerner comes into the race and does not win, there's a likelihood of what we are seeing today. The truth is, what we are seeing in the PDP is not so much about vice presidency or even about Wiki per se. It's about that valuation of zoning by the Atiku Abubakar candidacy, which was brought about by a conspiracy or a connivance between some leading northern potentials in the PDP, including you. So people are feeling, okay, was this deliberately done? And when people like Lamido, people like Bangida, you now talk down on Wiki, it will seem as though they did something that wasn't so appropriate and they are now being arrogant about it. And so one would have expected that Atiku should have, right from the beginning, managed the situation so well. Chances are given, and it does not degenerate to this level. Otherwise, I do not know how the PDP is going to function with a divided house. Going to an election that is seriously being contested by two other very powerful and influential candidates from the south. Given the fact that PDP's support base is actually in the south.
Yes.
So it's something that, I don't know, something that needs to be resolved quickly. But in any case, Nigerians will decide who their leader will be in 2023. Nigerians will, not Wiki per se, not Atiku, not IU, but Nigerians.
So decide. Wow, that's all for politics for now. Well, we are going on a break. When we come back, we'll be talking about Nigeria's debt rising profile. Don't go away. Stay tuned.
Inside Nigeria, keeping you informed on what matters. Inside Nigeria, keeping you informed on what matters.
Welcome back. You're still on to Inside Nigeria on Leadership Television. My name is William Frederick, and with me in the studio is a public affairs analyst, Majid Dahiru.
Thank you very
so
much.
for being
Thank
here.
you very much for having me.
So we are looking at the second part of this program, and we are talking about business. Stop worrying. Experts warn federal government as debt profile hits 41.6 trillion naira. That's the leading story on Guardian this Friday. And Harport Corridors of Riders under it, it says government owing 85% of Nigeria's debt, says DMO, Debt Management Organization. Customs boss force NNPC subsidy payment claims, says 36 million liters daily petrol consumption unaccounted for. Teriba, debt financing is policy option. Turn debt assets to cash flow, stop borrowing. Increase revenue, block leakages to get out of trouble, Bismarck suggests. Borrowing is burden if it won't increase future cash flow, or insist. 2023 fiscal plan is self-contradictory. Don't make Nigerians perpetual losers. Uriwa North government over non-provision for capital projects in 2023 project. And still on the Guardian story, we have another leading story, sub-leading story, that Nigerian economy gasps for breath as bandits, thieves, saboteurs lay siege. And still on that same story, we have it on this day. This day says Nigeria's total debt profile now 41.60 trillion naira, according to DMO. That is a cause for concern.
Yes.
So what happens is that our generations, our future generations, will continue to service debt.
It's not about future generation. Even the current generation.
Yes.
That's why I tell you that there might be no all the capital project for next year. So you now begin to ask, what are they now borrowing 11 trillion for? To augment the deficit in the budget, the proposed budget for next year. So that means the entire borrowed fund will be used to service debt and then fund the recurrent expenditure. Now the question is this: if that be the case, that means you're going to
most of these recurrent expenditures are even salaries, sitting allowances, or what?
of a public sector that is not productive. It's not because I don't have a problem with anybody being paid salary, no, but put them to productive use. Now the question I've always asked is, what is the way out? And this is not inclusive of the debt that the government is owing the CBN, that is said to be about 20 trillion now, added to this. And so the government is heavily indebted, and we have warned severally, over the years, when they kept measuring our debt to our GDP and say, no, it is still sustainable. Said, no. You measure debt to revenue, not debt to GDP. GDP is just simply for purpose of statistics. Don't forget, GDP is not money. GDP is just an expected size of the economy. It's not money. The real money is revenue. What do you have that is coming in for you? The truth is, Nigeria at this point, we need to have a national consensus by all stakeholders to redefine the philosophy of our political economy. What kind of economy do we want to run? One thing I know is this: the entrepreneurial capitalism that will be running since 1999 is a failure. It cannot work any longer. We need to take a turn towards the left at this point. If something must come together and agree on, this government had a strategy, this particular government, of borrowing for infrastructure, thinking that infrastructure will boost the economy. I will tell them what you call infrastructure. So there's a rail line, road, airport, are not capital projects. These are social projects. These are the minimum you give to your citizens. You don't take loans to do such kind of projects. You take loans to do the real capital project. And what is capital project in this sense? You invest in a business, in an enterprise that can yield money for you within the next budget cycle. It's as simple as that. You see, nobody takes commercial bank loan to go and build a house. You don't do that. You take it to go and build a hotel or an estate that you rent or sell. But to build a house and live in it with commercial bank loan is what Nigeria has been doing. Thinking that house will give you the comfort and the incentive to then begin to work harder to make money and then service the loan. It doesn't work that way. If I take a loan to build a very comfortable house, I'll still be sleeping by this time because it's very comfortable. And I'll default on the loan. But if I take a loan, for example, and say I'm going to invest in a restaurant business, chain supermarket, and just name it, you are sure that every single day something is coming in to service that loan and pay it back. But the reason Nigeria is not able to do this, after taking all of these loans, there's nothing to show for it. And it cannot pay itself. It's not just possible. Road cannot pay loans. It doesn't work. You need to create an economy. So the way forward is to start the process of creating an economy from the local government to the states to the federal government. First, apart from physical responsibility, not just by the act, but indeed, we need to reform government properly. This is time to reform, to reposition government to be able to undertake full participation in the means of production. You know, I've said this severally, that the government can no longer say it does not have business in business. Imagine the government has borrowed this money to invest in information and for refineries and building more. And we are now producing refined products, selling locally and exporting. You'll be talking about subsidy today. The revenue will be coming in to pay these so-called loans. That was not done. We took loans for all sorts of frivolities, and now we can no longer pay. And a time will come, not only are we going to default or even servicing our debts, but we will have nobody to lend us anymore to get us out of the physical crisis we found ourselves. And we can no longer continue to allow the CBN to print money. Because if you do that, a time will come that Naira note will be hit.
Like we are having now.
And yes, Naira will become so worthless. So we need to sit down and reevaluate our political economic philosophy. Let us go to the left. All of us. There's no option here. Imagine if, for example, states in the Niger Delta, state governments are able to invest this, what we have now, in petrochemical and refining.
Yes.
Of the endowment they have in their backyard.
It will be so nice.
It will begin to reflect the economy in real terms. You see, Wike has spent so much money building flyovers up and down, and paying so much for people to come and commission it.
I think that was the general consensus talk yesterday when we were watching him live on channel.
And let me surprise you today again. He has another one to commission, and he
this
bring
this
money. If we can this money to people one refinery, that refinery will bring so much money to the coffers that you have so much money to build. In fact, you can build flyover in every street in the US. I'll give you an example. I come from a state called Kogi. Papajana cement factory is owned by Dangote. But because we have no shares there, we have no ownership there. It is that cement factory that has made Dangote one of the richest people in Africa and the world. That cement factory. So the trillions of naira that are declared in profits from that facility goes to Dangote's pocket. The capitalists spoon this and say, oh, just give him the environment to build, that it will boost the economy. If you go to Wajana, where the factory is located, it's still a slum. Yes, there's nothing that the factory has not been able to bring development. It can't. It's not possible. He's a capitalist. He's looking at his profit. So you have trailer drivers, restaurant operators, small scale enterprise around it. Finish. The bulk of the trillions goes to his personal pockets. Imagine, for instance, if Kogi State government had at least 49% stake. It means out of 1 trillion you make, you have at least half a billion, half 500 billion comes to us. And so the Kogi State government can use that to fix the communities around the Bajana directly. Yes. But we don't have that. We don't. He pays meager taxes and that's all. So I've never advised.
And he doesn't embark on CSR.
There's a limit to which he can do. He constructed the road that leads to the factory. And the other time he converted his tax revenues to federal government to road construction. But these are just tokens of what we should be getting as a state. LNG in Bonny, it has become one of the saving grace for Nigeria today in terms of revenue. LNG, because government has a 49% stake in LNG. If government has said, just give them land, provide an enabling environment for them only, LNG would have been paying taxes and not dividends to government. Today, every year, we get 49% of what LNG makes. And the LNG is being run by the partners to federal government, Shell, Chevron, and Co. Very efficiently run, but we get money from it. So when we say government should do business, doesn't mean government should appoint people that will be running it. No. We're saying ownership.
Yes.
Emirates Airline is owned by the Emirates authorities, but it is being run by a British firm and mostly British experts. The purpose is run it well and bring out the money. My cousin does not need to run it. If a government that is doing business will not appoint his cousin to run his business, you bring the best person anywhere in the world. This is what we are saying. If the government does not go back to the basic functionality and responsibility of government in the means of production, we will still be having this conversation for many years to come. The only way to reverse this trend is for government to go back. Governors should stop this nonsense they are doing. Politics. The government has no business in business. Governors now began to just do politics. They no longer do governance. They leave their states, locate Abuja, perambulating from one meeting to the other, across party lines. They no longer do what they're supposed to do. A state like Benin, for example, the governor has time to be flying up and down with Wiki everywhere, when he should be sitting down, rolling up his sleeves, to be a farmer governor, because that state is endowed with agricultural potential. So the governor of a Benue state should be a farmer. When you see him, you've seen a farmer. He should be busy going from one farm to the other on a daily basis, making sure that the investment this woman has made in the entire value chain, from planting to harvesting to processing and to finishing for export.
Exactly. That's what the state government should be.
It's their responsibility. But we have refused to do this by saying that they don't have that role to play. The opportunity to private sector. No private sector in the world can do this. When we say it, people don't understand. Let me tell you something. If Nigeria had functioning refineries today, we would have been making more money today from the crisis in the world. Yes. The same Saudi Aramco, state-owned enterprise, made $78 billion in 6 months of this Russia-Ukraine war. What did we make? Losses. Because we're importing refined products. So the money we're even using to export, when we're going from export, we consume it almost 100% for subsidy of petroleum. Now, if you look at UK embarked on privatization in the 80s under Margaret Thatcher. They are facing the consequences of that today. Of course, unlike in France, the UK electricity management is privatized largely. Energy sources are also privatized. Because of the war in Ukraine, the UK is taking a major hit from increases in energy, which is affecting cost of living, is affecting the economy and the citizens. But in France, because the French government is in charge of electricity and energy sources, it has only a 4% increase in price of energy in France. So they're not even feeling the heat at all. And the government has enough money to subsidize further on this same 4%. The effect of 4%, government brought out monies, billions of euros, to subsidize some other aspects of the lives of citizens because of this 4% increase in energy price. Only 4%. Because the government controls the means of production. Have you ever wondered why Russia has not caved in under sanctions? They own Gazprom.
Yes. The sanctions.
You can't do without Gazprom. They've off their pipeline now, so they want to do maintenance to punish Europeans for the sanction they're giving to them. Russia has made more money under this sanction than ever before. Yes. It has increased the price of gas and must buy. So you need it. So Europe is now trying to go back to alternative sources of energy. And that's what they are doing. In UK, they're going back to state-owned coal facilities to restart those energy facilities in order to substitute coal-generated energy with to substitute gas-generated energy from Russia with coal-fired power plants. You have to go back to government. Government can never hands off means of production. 3 times in modern times, it has been proven. First was in 1929, during the Great Depression. The American political system adjusted and got government involved in the economy more. That was what Roosevelt did. And Roosevelt, with his New Deal, was able to pull America out of recession and reposition it on the path of proper prosperity and steady growth. Now, that has altered America forever to the point that up to today, America is still, as a government, is still very much involved in the military operation. Contrary to what people tell you, you will see it has private faces, but behind. I don't talk about China because China, you can tell me you could have a communist legacy. That's why they're still operating like a state capitalist entity. That is the best way. There's no country in the world that the government is not involved. There's no. British Airways were privatized in 1987. No problem. Recently, they had to go back to the government to take loans of over 2 billion pounds to continue to operate because of the impact of COVID. So, at every turn, COVID, the Great Depression, the war in Ukraine between them and Russia has shown that government cannot be far off from the economy. But you need to reform that government to be responsible, to be without corruption, to be upright like Caesar's wife. You have to do that. It is something we must do. I'm saying this because we're a democracy. This is a function of leadership. And the leadership recruitment process of our democracy is through elections. The candidates must have this as part of the national agenda. They can nuance it in their different ways, anyhow they want to do it. But they can no longer continue on this neoliberal path. It's what has led us to this point where we are today.
You know, somebody sent to my one of my platform. I saw it that over for the past 21, 23 years, the money that oil workers in the oil sector, refinery, NNPC, it's about almost 2 trillion. Yet, not a single drop of
That is because, you know why? Obasanjo's government, when he came, he saw that state-owned enterprises were moribund and not functioning well. Agreed. And embarked on privatization. At that point, you could say he had no option than to go right. But the problem is, in going right, what he failed to do was to realize that while you can privatize these other moribund ones, you should have established new ones and run them more efficiently as backup. Because we want to still need these assets. But because he didn't do that, all of his reforms, all his achievements, were built on very weak foundation, like quicksand. So without government providing stable power, energy, iron and steel, the building blocks of our foundation is like on quicksand. And so any little vulnerability results into what we are saying today. So the excess crude account he left has been depreciated. All of the things accumulated has gone because his failure to fix refineries in 8 years and make us self-sufficient in energy, oil and gas, and iron and steel. So we don't have to import and subsidize. Is what has actually reversed some of the gains he made. And unfortunately, privatization did not work in Nigeria because you do not privatize moribund enterprises. No, you resuscitate them. You see, those that introduced the concept of privatization is such that when you run a government agency well and very well, you now bring in private investors to bring in money. They dilute your ownership, but actually gain more. If, for example, the size of a business is say 10 naira, someone is now bringing another 100 naira. You may lose 100% control of it, but you have gained another 10 naira, which might just be just 20%. But you have gained. So what has happened is that the good that you are running has been made better and bigger. That's what protection means. But the core of the issue is that you as government must have run your own well. So our refineries, we are kept in abeyance waiting for investors to come and buy them while we are still paying salaries to workers without putting them to use. And unfortunately, no serious investor who wants to do petrochemical refining will buy the refineries, even at the cost that it is being run with. If you look at the 2023 budget, the expected revenue from privatization is 260 billion naira. Very small. Because who wants to buy our assets that are moribund? Who wants to buy Kaduna refinery and what to use it for? Kaduna refinery in the first place wasn't supposed to exist. You can't put refinery where you don't have crude oil. Kaduna refinery was built because of a political decision. And let me tell you this, Kaduna refinery cannot refine body lights. No, it cannot. The only crude that it can refine is escravos. for some reasons that are still not very clear, because Escravos is not able, we're not able to evacuate from Escravos to Kaduna through the pipelines. Crude oil needs to be imported from Venezuela and then shipped to Nigeria and then trucked to Kaduna refinery for it to be refined, because the Kaduna refinery is configured to refine heavy crude, which is mostly available from Venezuela. It's one of the problems. So I'm saying economic common sense should guide government policies, not political expediency. So it's only a government that is doing business. We are doing business. You will be economically guided than politically, because we are doing business. So this philosophy must change to guide government decision-making process from conception to implementation and monitoring. It has to be there. Otherwise, you'll be having this conversation continuously. Where do you think Nigeria will get money from? Is it from taxation? Taxation from who? Without capital projects, government cannot inject funds into the system enough to deflate the economy and get taxation from businesses. So where's government going to get revenue from, even through taxation? Because you need to give companies contracts. You pay them, they will not take your corporate tax from the money you are paying them. So if you're not going to fund any project next year, businesses will go down naturally. Capital project means even supply. It means even leaflet. It means printing materials. So it's not just only bridges and roads. So if you don't do that, how will SME survive from government patronage? Enough to pay taxes. So it's a recipe for disaster that we are faced with. Until there's a turnaround now, it has to come. It has to come. Otherwise, we will not have a headway. We need to move left now from the right.
Wow, what a sad prognosis. That's where we call it today. Draw the curtain today on today's Inside Nigeria. It's been a pleasure having you on the program.
Thank you very much.
And
Pleasure to be here.
you always do justice to trending stories. But viewers, this is where we draw the curtain. I remain Winifred Dukwebo. Have a beautiful weekend.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.